the heart of Stanton is to not just get to a certain point of how many babies were born, but it's to care for families. It's to care for women and to make sure that whatever they're going to do next, they're cared for and loved on.
Welcome to Reconcile, where we seek to connect the controversial, the supernatural, and the ordinary to the deeper truths in the Bible. My name is Aaron, and joining me today is Leela, who is the Executive Director of Stanton Healthcare, which provides free health care for pregnant women and supplies such as diapers to families with babies that need a little help. So Leela, what does Stanton do?
Well, Stanton Healthcare is an accredited medical clinic. We are based out of Boise, Idaho, but we also have affiliates around not only the country, but around the world. We take care of women who are expecting. We take care of clients who might have STD, STI testing. We're a limited accredited facility, but all of our services are at no charge to our clients, which is really wonderful in the climate that we're in right now, because costs are expensive for those kinds of things. So what we offer, clients come to us who are expecting. We do pregnancy verification, which is pregnancy testing in the lab that we have on site. We give ultrasounds for these women, and we give something that's very unique to us, advocacy. How often do you go into your doctor's office and they tell you all of the things, the medical ease of, what to expect next, and it goes over your head because you're the patient. So for our clients, what we offer is someone to really talk them through it. So whenever they come into the clinic, they'll be able to meet with their advocate. Remember last time we talked about X, Y, and Z. This is what they were saying. And then they'll also get excellent medical care. We have not one, but multiple medical directors that oversee our physician assistant, who is our client service director at the clinic. So yeah, that's what we started off with, but we do so much more than that.
And how much does it cost for all these services? For someone comes in, no charge.
Yep. Wow. It is no charge to our clients. And we're very specific in saying that we offer these services at no charge to our clients, because it doesn't mean that they don't have costs.
Yeah.
They still have costs. But with our clients, when they're coming in, we want to give them excellence of care. So that's why we've gone the extra mile and done an accredited clinic. You can be a medical clinic and make up your own rules, I guess, to sum it up really quick, of how you're going to run your clinic, how you're going to file, things like that. But we wanted the standard, right?
Yeah.
So our accreditation has been a work in process, and it's an ambulatory accreditation. So when you go into something like primary health, they also have the same type of accreditation.
Okay.
But because we're a limited medical service, we do limit the services that we're offering. And you can do that with accreditation. But it really is another level of excellence, because our doors are really open to anyone and everyone who needs it.
And that accreditation is not easy to get, is it?
Whew, no, it is not.
Yeah.
It is, and they review it every 3 years. So we're coming up on our reaccreditation, and they look at everything. And they've brought a lot of things to our team too. You have HIPAA that we want to adhere to, and making sure that our clients' information is protected, making sure that we're giving excellent care in the limited scope that we do offer for our clients.
Okay.
So it's a constant look at our practices and our procedures, and making sure that we're doing the best care that we can for these ladies. So we don't stop there, though.
Yeah.
I just needed to take a breath. We had so many things we do at Stanton. So the idea for Stanton is that someone who comes to our clinic is someone who might be expecting pregnancy. I mean, that is the bulk of our client needs. But with that, it's not just a pregnancy test. Yes, you're pregnant. Here's your ultrasound. It's so much more than that. That is a big choice for anyone. It's a big life change or consideration for anyone. Even if you were expecting to have kids, it's, here we are.
Yeah.
Now what?
Yeah.
So at our Meridian Medical Clinic, we go through the now what's, okay, now you need your OBGYN. Here's your care plan. And we don't just do a care plan up through delivery. We do a care plan up through 18 months.
Okay. Great.
18 months is just the tip of the iceberg. But what we're trying to do is give them a support in place while they get into their OBGYN, that bridge of care while they're, getting their insurance in place. We don't want them to miss out on prenatals. So right when you're expecting, you need to start taking prenatals not only for baby, but for mom's health as well.
Yeah.
So we don't want them to miss a beat.
So you typically set up shop across from Planned Parenthoods. So what is that all about?
So with the 18-month care plan,
Okay.
we have what's called the Stanton Wellness that's located out of Boise. We are offering not only pregnancy testing, ultrasound care, STI, STD testing, we're offering lactation support, prenatal, postnatal massage therapy. We've underwritten for counseling. We have resources and referrals to providers in the community that really matter to moms. One of the first questions that we'll get when a client comes through the door is, oh, I don't have a doctor. Well, we have a list of providers that we know that can take them. We have those referrals and resources that they definitely need. Some of them don't even know that if they haven't seen a dentist for a while, that might affect their pregnancy. It's so much to consider. And having a medical team in place really helps us guide their care plan. If they don't have a dentist or a care provider, then we can get them plugged into it. And we've had such a great outreach of community members that are willing to do this for our clients because they know the heart of Stanton is to not just get to a certain point of how many babies were born, but it's to care for families, it's to care for women, and to make sure that whatever they're going to do next, they're cared for and loved on.
Yeah.
So you asked about why we're set up across from Planned Parenthood, and yes, that we are. We started in Boise, and it was formerly a Planned Parenthood right next to us, but they actually left right after Roe was overturned.
Okay.
They left the community and we stayed. But we didn't just stay, we wanted to thrive. And so we have turned that not into wellness, which is parenting classes, it's birthing classes, our volunteer nurses that come there, they facilitate some of these things. They've done a choking class for new moms who have babies and what to do when their baby's choking. Like these are the things that give a mom a skill because no child comes with instructions, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And even parents who've been around for a couple of years, had kids, they're like still like, I don't really know what I'm doing.
It's so true. In fact, because we've been in the community for over 17 years, we have a lot of alumni that are coming back. I guess not a lot, but for example, one of our very first Stanton babies, she is now volunteering with us as well.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
That's awesome.
So we really do create a family or a culture around our clients and our clients' children, so their families. It's so great when we see a returning mom. Oh, we've been here before, and we just need diaper supplies. Another thing we're offering are supplies for after babies are born. So it's actually been one of our biggest increases over time is to give out diapers and formula if they need it, wipes, clothing. So really meeting those needs.
Yeah. I mean, I would think if you're pregnant, it's like, why wouldn't you go, to Stanton? I mean, just the excellent care and just the savings of, all these services that are free that, they normally have to pay for, it just makes sense. That's just great that you guys can provide that whole service from before pregnant, during pregnancy, after pregnancy, and taking care of the baby and just helping with costs all throughout.
Well, and as a parent, I know you're a parent, Aaron, you understand the value of having a community around you. And I feel like a lot of times, even if you're plugged into your community, when a big life-changing question comes up, you want to be around people that are going through some of those same things. And going through parenting classes, we do these Mommy and Me classes. Again, the babies never came with instructions. So they come in with our postnatal educator, and she sits down with them, and they talk about social media and how there is no perfect mother out there, and how comparing yourself to what's being seen on social media, how is that helpful for mom?
I know.
Who's already overwhelmed with the cost of diapers and milk. So having that community to really come beside you and be like, you're not alone in this.
Yeah.
How do you get baby to sleep at night?
Yeah. So the question would be, so why did Stanton, start in the first place?
Yeah.
And what is kind of like your guys' vision and passion, and what's your really, what's your purpose?
The mission of Stanton is really to provide excellent care to women in our community. Stanton also is to really recognize the issue at hand, which is they're not getting it in other places. And we are very strategic in where we're at. Planned Parenthood, being in that parking lot, the services that they're offering, and they're not free. A lot of our clients will come in and they're like, it's not free over there? No, it's not.
Yeah.
They're charging they're charging their clients to give them only part of the picture.
Yeah.
We do talk with our clients, and some of them are abortion minded. But when that comes out, you know what we say? Let's give you some facts about what that looks like.
Yeah.
We don't do that here.
Yeah.
But what we do offer is post-abortive care. So here's what statistics show. Taking an abortion pill is not just as easy as taking an aspirin. Your body's going through that process of having a miscarriage. It's not something that's going to be painless. So we tell them you can't do that by themselves. And then we start talking to them and hearing about what their beliefs are. Are you plugged into a community? Do you have, what are your thoughts around it? So we do really start talking about the abortion issue, but when the client is ready.
Yeah.
We want to give them excellent care and provision for when they make a choice, but we also want to give them a respectful place for when they are considering things that we don't offer.
Yeah.
Planned Parenthood has been offering abortion pills, and when they come out, there's no care after that.
Yeah.
There's nothing to say that they'll come back and, what then?
Yeah.
So we're strategically behind Planned Parenthood because in our mission, it's also, we want to replace that.
Yeah.
We want to be the place that you go to when you're expecting pregnancy and going through that, because we feel like our care, our excellence of care is going to walk beside the mother and her choice in a much more valid way.
Yeah.
So one of our clients who we've shared about in the past, when Roe was overturned, was sent to Ontario for abortion pills. She took her first abortion pill, and the minute under pressure, she was being pressured by the world, her outside world, right, to terminate. But she knew in her heart, and the minute she took it, she regretted it. And as she drove back to her home, phoned us at Stanton, and we were able to initiate abortion pill reversal. Abortion pill reversal is actually something that if you've taken that first pill in an abortion pill series, what it does is it floods the system with prednisone, which is a naturally occurring hormone that a woman creates when they're pregnant, and it sustains baby. So the first pill is really to cut off that hormone. You have to go be seen by our physician assistant to make sure that it is safe for mom and it's safe for baby. And then they can prescribe and give you the hormone so that you can save baby. And now we have many, many babies around the country that have been born because of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had no idea that there was a abortion pill reversal,
Protocol.
protocol. Wow. That's really good to know.
And it's, the hormone is something that they've been using for years, but you'll hear a lot of talk in, the counter argument of, oh, that's not a real thing.
Yeah.
Just like they said, Stanton isn't a real clinic, it's a fake clinic.
Yeah.
Our own representatives out there in DC said that, one of them did.
Wow.
And our clients went to that specific representative, told their story, and told them that it was a real clinic to them, and they have children now and a family
Yeah.
because of it. The same with our abortion pill reversal. And this isn't just something that we do at Stanton. It's done nationwide.
Yeah.
And it does yield results.
Yeah.
So,
Why did they care so much about making sure that your baby's not born? Like, I don't get why Planned Parenthood worries so much about that. Like, wouldn't they just say, hey, what do you want to do? If this is what you want to do, we're going to do that. If you don't, then, but it seems like there's a lot of pressure by them to, want to go ahead with an abortion. And I don't understand that, except for that this, world is fallen and that there is evil in this world. That's the only thing I can think of, because it doesn't make sense. If you're providing a service, you want to see what your customer wants, and then you let them make that decision. But when you're trying to pressure them, it just seems like something's off there.
yeah. It's that culture of life versus a culture of death, which is really the decisions that are made at the parking lot. When you're that close to Planned Parenthood and you're sharing a parking lot with them, the prayer and the opportunity for change is really done in a parking lot. I mean, we talk about a big God. It's a parking lot.
Yeah.
And so often have we had client after client tell a story of, I was about to walk in, but. So we talk about that culture of life and death. Sometimes we don't always see what we don't know is there, but God does.
Yeah.
And so he draws in the people that he can into a place of life and abundance and health. And healthcare is that. What kind of healthcare do you want? Do you want to go in and have something that is at least life leaning? I mean, if we're going to be faulted for anything, I'd rather be faulted for speaking life over your family, over your future, rather than going home and having that regret.
Yeah. Hope that they, choose to keep their baby and see how valuable, that baby is that's inside of them. And, but even if they don't, then, at least to be their support and just to love them either way.
And I like to start off with that, because what I know about our clients is women don't want to end their pregnancies.
Yeah.
They're usually being pressured into a situation where my partner or my significant other doesn't want it, or I'm not in a situation where, the X, Y, and Z, the funding, or maybe I don't have a housing. Well, let's talk through that. Well, what does life look like if you do get over these hurdles?
Yeah.
And again, to go back to when a life decision and something heavy like that comes into anyone's life, you at least give it a couple weeks to think it through, right?
Kind of a big decision. Yeah.
Yeah.
Once you actually start thinking these things through and just say, there are solutions to these problems. There are people, even if you didn't want to keep the baby, there are so many families out there who are looking, cannot have children of their own, who are looking to, to love on some other kids. Planned Parenthood and other people, just don't even want you to think about it. Like, it seems like, I don't know, it doesn't seem like they're really care about what's the interest of the woman, that they just have like an agenda and we want to push that, and anything that goes against that we don't want. And to support the woman and the baby, no matter what, that's that is really important.
Well, and if you think about the what then after the abortion, you look at stories like Britney Spears, who 10 plus years later is regretting a choice and has, there are women that they don't consider, what if I do get the abortion, what does life look like after that? And how am I going to feel? And what is my community going to look like that?
Yeah.
And what we want for these women is for them to be healthy and happy. And we want them to have a life for mama and baby, which is a sign I've seen multiple times. And I really do love that.
One question that people are always, talk about when this, kind of abortion debate in general is, so what is considered a baby? What gives a baby its value? When is life valuable and when is it created?
Sure.
So, there are a couple of arguments that people will say. One of them is size. Oh, well, it's just really, really small. And, does size actually change the value of somebody? So
Sure. So what size is the right size? Is it a toddler? Is it a, is there a maximum size? So at what point does life become viable? That's really the question of what is a baby, right? When is the viability? And at Stanton Healthcare, it's pretty simple. Life beginning at conception. We want to protect that. That's the voice there. That baby doesn't have a chance to speak. And so we want to really educate first about what fetus actually means. Fetus is a life. Life begins at conception is our basis at Stanton Healthcare. And if we go down the argument of size, then what is the size cap?
Yeah.
At what point isn't it a life? The one thing about Stanton that I will say is that the walls of Stanton are safe. So you can come in and you don't have to have a decision of what your belief is on when a life begins. But from an advocate's perspective, and anyone who volunteers with Stanton, they will always start with life begins at conception. And we are going to advocate in a manner that is respectful to both lives, the mom and the baby.
Yeah. I heard a funny one where it said, is Kevin Hart not as valuable as The Rock? His size, matter. So,
that is a great argument.
Yeah. So the other one is level of development. So depending, what makes a baby or valuable? It has eyes, it has hands, it has a heart.
The argument of if they are able to think or if, at what point, I think that's what you're referring to. Well, the counter of that is, what about the patient who's in a coma?
Yeah.
They don't have ability to think, or is their life not value? So for the arguments that push and pull, I would say all life is valuable.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter at what stage of development they are.
And developmentally disabled, like you have that, like, are they not valuable? They, just because there's a development of some sort that's not fully developed or whatever, that doesn't, change somebody's value. So,
that's right.
Yeah.
A life is still a life.
Yeah.
Sometimes we'll get the client who's just really considering all of the information that they're getting. And so these arguments that are out there and that exist about when life starts, the idea, again, is really just to say, take pause. Will a mom who's expecting is considering, my age. What if my health is doing this? Oh, what if I took a glass of wine, before I knew I was expecting? So they already have so many stresses that are on them. Let's just take a minute to consider what life would look like with baby.
So, we have size, we have level of development. So let's say, it doesn't matter about the development, but it's the location. The body, the baby is still in my body. And so, that's part of the whole my body, my choice. It's like, but babies have their own DNA. They're a body within a body. So just because the location shouldn't change the value. So if I took the baby out and put him outside of your womb, now it's a baby and now it's valuable. But if it's in, then it's not, and I can do whatever I want with it. I think that's an argument against the environment. This is an acronym SLED: size, level, development, environment, and degree of dependency is the last one. We've got the location. We know that doesn't matter if I'm located here or I'm located somewhere else in the United States. If I'm, say, located in a belly or outside of a belly, it doesn't change that. The other one is degree of dependency. And they say, well, if the baby can't survive on its own, then, it's not really a baby.
Yeah.
It's like, but what babies can survive on their own? So you bring them outside of the womb and they need mother's milk. They need, warmth. They are completely dependent on their mother or someone else to take care of them.
Yeah. And I still depend on my mom for a few things too.
Yeah. Yep. There's also even court cases where if, let's say, a pregnant mother is in a car crash from like someone with a DUI, and the person who caused that accident gets charged with 2 murders because there is the mother and then the baby inside them. So
just because baby is wanted or not wanted doesn't defer from the idea that it is still alive.
Yeah. That's a good one.
What is, I think I've heard the counter as being, what happens, what is that magical thing that happens in the birthing canal that makes it all of a sudden something that we now protect? It doesn't matter if baby's in womb or if baby is out, the value is still there.
Yep.
And if we're, for the example that you're giving, that case would probably only happen if it was a wanted baby. Why is that different?
Yeah.
Where is that point?
That shouldn't matter. What does the Bible say about, what the value of a baby is? Well, Psalms 139, 13, for you formed my inward parts. You knitted me together in my mother's womb. Then Matthew 18, 14, in the same way, your Father in heaven is not willing that any of these little ones should perish. Psalms 127, verse 3, children are a heritage from the Lord, offspring a reward from him. That is a reward from God, is our children. And they are. If people who've had children know that.
I came from education, and one of the things I know about why I love education is because I love those kids.
Yeah.
And I get it that there's different environments and there's different challenges in every home. It doesn't matter what you make. It doesn't matter, troubles come in all sizes and packages, but just like Scripture says, those are the joys of those families. And so often our clients will come back and tell us, those repeat clients that I tell you about, or even just the one-time client, I'm so glad I took a pause to really consider life with my child because I don't even remember what it was like before then.
Yeah.
It becomes the answer, the why around what we do.
Yeah.
And for a woman to be completely empowered, they have to understand that next step is considering what your life would look like if you were that mom, or if you did accept that, like the Scripture says, blessing of a child.
Yeah.
So life for both mom and baby, it's why I do what I do.
Yeah. Okay. So if someone thinks that they may be pregnant and need help, what should they do?
Well, they can call or text or visit our website, but we have a 24-hour line that always answers any chat from our website or calls that come in. So definitely come in and get a pregnancy test verification. Regardless of what you choose, you're going to have to get a lab confirmation of your pregnancy test, and you'll want to get an ultrasound to kind of see how far along you are. If you know of someone who is expecting, you can have just as much of a difference in their life by just knowing about Stanton and telling them about the services we offer. And the greatest thing about it is it's at no charge to a client and it's accredited. If you know someone who's expecting, just say, hey, I know of this place called Stanton Healthcare. Can I get you some information on them? A great example of this is we had a young woman who came to us through a teacher at her school. It was she was a young mom, a teen mom, had her baby before Stanton was in her life, but needed resources and referrals because she was now with a toddler and needing some new things. Well, her teacher reached out to Stanton and said, hey, I have this really great gal and she needs things. Yes, we can absolutely help her. So just knowing about some Stanton and the services, she was able to come back in, and her story was really powerful. She, a young teen mom graduating, wanted to break the stigma of what her life would look like in, 10 plus years and 5+ years. And she worked hard. She had these big visions of, doing all of these things. And I am really excited this week specifically because I'm going to her graduation.
Oh, cool.
And not only her, but her son is going to walk the stage to grab her diploma. And then they're off for their military assignment. So it is interesting when you come into contact with someone who has kids or who is expecting, that they are going through that exact same questions in their mind. And we talked about this earlier, but it doesn't always come at the right time. It can come. I've had clients that say, I was parent-minded until about 1:00 a.m. I'm up in bed panicking. And then I reached around and I saw a Stanton card and I gave you a call. Again, just being there and accessible 24 hours and knowing about the services we provide are a really big way to kind of do what's next. And then from there, we can help you get your OBGYN, your how to pay for this and what works best for you and all that.
Just someone come alongside of you and to be support.
Yeah, advocate for you.
Yeah. And do you know the phone number off the top of your head? Website?
Yeah, our website, www.stantonhealthcare.org. Or you can call our clinic at 208-629-7766.
Let's talk about the history of Planned Parenthood. So you know kind of what, when you are considering or thinking about, going to Planned Parenthood, which is almost exclusively abortions. They kind of say it's women's health care, but it's almost exclusively abortions. What their history and their founder and what it's based on. Because it's a little shocking. I think most people have no idea the history and foundation of that and how atrocious the person who was behind that, Margaret Sanger, how bad she was and what her goal was. So
Right.
let's talk about that a little bit. Another interesting fact is Bill Gates' dad, William Gates Sr., was actually on the founding board of Planned Parenthood, because the Gates are, people who believe in eugenics, basically, who believe in either depopulating or reducing the population or improving the human gene pool by encouraging the reproduction of people considered to have desirable traits and discouraging or preventing the reproduction of people considered to have undesirable traits. So like selective breeding type of thing.
You hit the nail on the head there, in that Margaret Sanger, when she founded Planned Parenthood, was part of a group of people that were very much in line with eugenics and, population control. She wrote in, I believe was it the Negro Project, her credo. And it was something that was very much adopted by Planned Parenthood and is why it exists now.
Yeah, she wrote in her autobiography about speaking to a Ku Klux Klan group and advocated for eugenics approach to breeding for the gradual suppression, elimination, eventual extinction of defective stocks. Those human weeds which threaten the blooming of the finest flowers of American civilization. And then she talks about how she got a lot of speaking engagements from those in the Ku Klux Klan afterwards. So 80% of her abortion facilities were in minority communities.
Yeah.
And purposefully, too. Like, we'll get to those, like the quotes. This is not like an accidental, thing. Her goal was to get rid of the black population and minorities. Like, that was her goal. That was the goal of Planned Parenthood. Here's some quotes from Sanger. The most merciful thing that the large family does to one of its infant members is to kill it. Pretty crazy. We don't want the word to go out that we want to exterminate the Negro population. This was a letter written to someone, and that was the goal, but she didn't want everybody to know that was their goal. So no woman should have the legal right to bear a child, and no man should have the right to become a father without a permit for parenthood.
That is very disturbing, and it should be disturbing on multiple levels, but especially when an organization like Planned Parenthood can build a huge nonprofit, get grant funding through the government based on that.
Yeah.
And do you know where they're, I'm guessing a lot of their locations are strategic still to this day on demographics that are based on that. So I can't speak for Planned Parenthood and where they're at now, but I know that whenever you base something on a project like that, it needs to be
defunded.
Defunded.
Yes. It's crazy that we're using government funds to do this.
I think if people knew that specifically, and it was talked about more, but those aren't the stories that you hear.
You can't even talk about it, know. And abortion is such a divisive topic anyways, so it's really hard for people to talk about it. That's why we wanted to talk about this, talk about the services, but also talk about abortion, because you don't get the other side of that at all. You just hear one side of it. Another quote, these two words, birth control, sum up our whole philosophy. It means the release and cultivation of better elements in our society and the gradual suppression, elimination, and eventual extinction of defective stocks, those human weeds which threaten the blooming of the finest flowers of American civilization. Wow. Here's another one. Let's just get through these because they're so bad. It's unbelievable that people would support something like this.
And I know, because I have read it. I don't have them quoted in my head, but it is available if you just open up any of her documents.
Yeah, look at her books. I mean, she's talking about this. It's not, this is not secret stuff. Birth control itself, often denounced as a violation of natural law, is nothing more or less than the facilitation of the process of weeding out the unfit, of preventing the birth of defectives, or of those who would become defectives. If we are to make racial progress, this development of womanhood must precede motherhood in every individual woman.
Where's diversity in that?
Yeah. It's pretty straight up racial, like,
Yeah.
let's get rid of the minorities. And how can we do it is we can get rid of their babies, So very purposeful on her part, and strategic, really, So,
Yeah.
and then recently Planned Parenthood has even admitted that their founder and their purpose that their company was created was racist and prejudiced.
Yep.
And so this is from this quote is from Alexis McGill Johnson, who is the president and CEO of Planned Parenthood. As we tell the history of Planned Parenthood's founding, we must fully take responsibility for the harm that Sanger caused to generations of people with disabilities and Black, Latino, Asian American, and Indigenous people. So, I mean, it's something that they actually admit that that's the purpose. But the thing is that they continue on with that and maybe pretend that that's not what, I mean, it may not be their main purpose, but that is the foundation of their company and their purpose of what that happened. And they just that just magically goes away. I don't know about that.
I'll interrupt to say that was a very recent quote. It was within, I can't give you the year, but the last at least 10 years. So it's taken that long for them even to just say that.
What, 50 or 70 years or however long they've been around? Yeah, that's crazy.
And that report's been around since Margaret Sanger.
Yeah. So now that Planned Parenthood has, a lot of them have closed in states that have disallowed and made abortion illegal. So what are they on to now? Like starting the day that they announced, the decision for Roe v. Wade, overturning.
Mm-hmm. So on my first week of my current position, which I'm the executive director at Stanton, Roe was overturned. And by the second week, we went to the Planned Parenthood website and they had started advertising hormone therapy because they had to remove surgical abortions from their list of services. So hormone therapy has been for transitioning children, has been their new, I don't know if it's new per se, but it was for the list of services and the one across the street.
And one they focus on maybe because that's now the big kick, the big push to do. And are they doing actually transition surgeries as well too?
That I'm not sure.
Okay. I had heard that they may be doing that as well because, when they advertise themselves as women's clinic or, that, but it's really abortions. It's like majority, almost exclusively abortions. So then once that's illegal, then their company basically has to completely shut down. So that does show you what their real focus was. It wasn't about providing care to women. It was providing abortion. So now they need something to fill that gap.
Well, it's interesting. We talk about Roe overturned. They closed the Boise Planned Parenthood and moved across the border onto Ontario, which then brought in new things of abortion trafficking. And luckily we live in a state like Idaho who's put some protection laws in place for young women getting sent out to the border for abortions, and their parents might not even know, or their partner might not even know. But there's been some stuff that's changed really quick on Planned Parenthood side. While we are improving the excellence of care at Stanton and making sure that we're available to both Boise, Meridian, and now even helping out with other centers out in Ontario, we want to expand in that route.
Yeah. Now that Planned Parenthood is closed and Roe v. Wade is at least overturned in Idaho, has the abortion rate gone way down and basically the issue's really solved? We kind of won the day and now it's all good, right?
I actually, our CEO always talks about this, that it is actually now we're just at the beginning of the starting line. It's twofold. We're seeing a lot more needs that we need to meet, because if we're going to replace Planned Parenthood, we need to be excellent in doing that, and we need to change the culture, the hearts and minds of people that don't understand really why we're there. So we are just at the beginning. It is not by any means over.
What have the statistics been since the Roe v. Wade overturned for the amount of abortions nationwide?
I don't have those. But I know they exist. But I can tell you how Stanton stats have changed.
Okay.
As of spring in 2022 at Stanton, we had a 333% increase in supplies handed out. And it wasn't just in clients, it was in community members hearing about us. There's social workers hearing about us, telling their clients, hey, Stanton provides X, Y, and Z, go see them. 333%. That's a large increase and need. And it's one that we've been able to meet with the help of our partners.
Yeah.
Our client intake, our new coming clients that are coming in, that they still need women's care. There still needs to be something there. So we've been able to see that grow over time too, but I don't have the stat with
Okay.
the amount.
I thought I had heard that actually abortion has actually increased in the country since the Roe v. Wade, overturning.
That's what I've heard, but I just don't know the number.
Yeah.
The need is still there. Yeah. Interestingly enough, with Margaret Sanger, I wrote a paper. I took a women's history class in college, and I wrote a paper on her because, of course, they go through her. And, the question answer portion of that, it was essay form, but it was leading questions that talked about what contributions did Margaret Sanger make that were noteworthy or whatever. And, I knew what the answer they wanted, but that's not the paper I typed.
Yeah.
And it was a wake up moment in my college education of like what it's going to be like to constantly push that level of translation. I guess that's when I see the Negro Project and this and this is what I'm seeing. Luckily enough, I'd had biblical view training or schooling that I could really understand that the questions were slanted.
Oh yeah.
So
especially with college, they definitely have their their narrative or their things that they want to show people. They don't necessarily want people to think for themselves, and actually they have a very certain slant that they want to teach everybody else and kind of indoctrinate them in that exact, understanding. So that's a little unfortunate.
And educare, the base root of education, is to pull out information, is to come to a table and say, what facts do we know, and what do you see from this fact, or like how. And that discussion didn't exist in college, and it was really sad for that question.
Yeah.
I loved the class, but that.
Yeah, well, if you've been in, with science classes, philosophy classes, they're very anti-God, anti-Christian. If you believe the Bible, we are in a spiritual battle.
We were talking about this with our PA and even some medical doctors that came in the clinic last week. So often in a professional field, where do they get a chance to express their belief? But it's because it can be so leaning to a certain ideology. Like you look at ACOG and their definition of what abortion is and how even they chart for a miscarriage. It comes down to this desensitization of the word abortion, where it does feel medical, when in reality there's abortion, there's termination, there's so much more into that. And I think it starts in education. It's learning the same skills, knowing the body's ability to create, but also I can tell you handfuls of medical doctors that would translate differently for a client. Now the biggest thing on the market is abortion pills. What kind of care is it to mail in a pill or to get your pills somewhere else and then drive all the way back to your home and go through, again, it's not like an aspirin. It is, your body is literally dispelling miscarriage material, and doing that at your home, your daughter's bathroom, with no supervision. That's not excellence in care.
No, and that could be very traumatizing for someone for the rest of their lives.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. A lot of abortions are pressured abortions. It would just take removing that pressure. Our client who I mentioned, who's now volunteering, she came from a pressured abortion where the dad put a gun to his head and said, if you don't get an abortion, I'm going to kill myself. That's not a mentally healthy situation for you to make a choice.
Yeah, really.
That is what we're trying to do, is to intervene in these moments of high pressure to say, hey, your value is way more than that. We can get past this moment.
It's just the twisting of what is good to what is evil, and and the Bible talks about this. Isaiah 5, chapter 5, verse 20. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. And then Ephesians 6:12, like what we talked about before, this is a spiritual battle. So it talks about, for our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. On our knees in prayer, it's not something that you're going to vote yourself out of that. I mean, there can be improvements, but it's really just the heart. It is sinful nature that we have, that we want things that God does not want.
Well, and we talk a lot, Stanton, about the culture, culture of life. And I think the most relatable thing from my previous career to relate it to is work culture, but also American culture of we have to change the hearts and minds in ourselves.
Yes. Yeah.
And the way we do that is through education and power and stopping the conversation at life's only wanted if I want it or if it's easy for me. That doesn't give you, that stops the conversation. That stops the drawing out of, well, what then? So we talk about it's a spiritual battle. And I would say it's almost a cultural one too. It's one that we as men and women, not just women, need to really look in our hearts and say, what is health care? What is true care? Is it fully educational? And we're all going to come at it at a different level. I like how you said we're not going to vote ourselves in or out of some of these things. It's going to be a cultural change.
Yeah, and like you said, it really is. It is being changed. It's not like changing ourselves, but it is really like allowing God to change us. Like we are not good in and of ourselves, and we need a Savior. We need Jesus, who does cleanse us from these sins and from the desires that we have. And this world is obviously a fallen place, and if we're not willing to be changed ourselves, then we shouldn't expect the whole world to change, or the people who don't know God. It's not just about the birth part of taking care of babies. And, it is, like you said before, taking care of the women before whatever situation happens. We care for the women, we care for the babies, we care for the families. And there are families out there who would love to have, would love to be able to raise babies and take care of them. And so, as Christians, that's something we can do is either, first of all, pray about these things, donate, financially to, organizations like Stanton that do that, and being able to adopt or take care of kids. It's just a full cycle. It's not just this one thing about just, abortion or not abortion,
Isn't that the wonderful thing about people too? They just come into your life and they might have a different story, but basically we have some basic needs. We all want accepted. We all want, there is a client that we also see that wants to have babies and can't. Or there's the client that has lost a baby, and is grieving through that. So our services don't just end at, like you were saying, the 18-month plan. It's about the post-abortive woman. It's about the woman who's recently lost someone close to them and is mothering alone. So it's such a wide spectrum of kind of people that come into Stanton. But what's great about supporting the organization of Stanton is that when you donate to Stanton, it goes towards families, and it goes towards women. It goes towards even men who are hurting from past abortions. We have had clients that are men from that. So it really does go to support that value. And there's multiple ways. We are actually a nonprofit organization, so you can donate and know that. We've been supported by, I would say, over 100 churches throughout, the 17 years that we've been in operation. We just ended our community baby bottle drive, which is one of our big fundraisers. And churches in the Treasure Valley come together, and they talk about Stanton and the services, and then they donate. They fill up their little baby bottles with change. It's really fun to see them come in. But that's one way you can donate. And then we also have just going to our website and donating. We also take credit card, believe it or not.
Yeah.
So there's lots of ways you can physically donate.
And also volunteer. Is there volunteer opportunities?
Yes, we would love to have some volunteers. We have volunteer nurses. We have a volunteer medical staff, volunteers that help with advocacy, volunteers that help with events. Always a great opportunity. I think the best way to kind of know what's out there to get involved in is to either go to our website or to follow us on Instagram and Facebook, because that will always show our events and things that we're needing.
Okay.
I mentioned earlier, we have had I think the last number was over 5,000 requests in the last year for diapers and wipes. So the best way to support Stanton, we need size 6 diapers and wipes
Yeah.
on a pretty consistent basis.
Okay,
So
cool.
just donating that practical item is another way. We've had donors help moms set up their baby rooms with, pack and plays or bassinets, car seats. So it's a really great way to plug in those practical needs that, oh, good, I don't have to think of getting the baby home. I got a car seat or things like that.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
lots of ways to get involved, and every bit of it matters. I always talk to our volunteers. They are the bread and butter of what we do. I just came from our wellness center where Nurse Faith was giving a birthing class. It's an 8-week series. And then she goes and she gives them lessons online and she talks to each one of them. And then I left the whole center in the hands of volunteers at the front desk.
Oh.
So they really are the heart of Stanton. They're why we can do what we can do.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Leela, for joining me today to talk about such an important topic.
Thank you for having me. This was fun.
Yeah, that was great. And thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you're notified of new episodes. And let us know what you think in the comments. Thanks, and we'll see you again next time.
All right. Thank you, Aaron.
Thanks.